Alcohol Beyond This Point podcast.
This isn't two podcasters talking business. This is two business guys trying to podcast. I just gotta say, you look fantastic.
Thank you. Should this be a recurring segment where I just get you to describe my outfit for the listening audience?
For sure. Okay, so today we have a light gray suit. Well, currently it's two-piece pants and vest.
I'm not wearing the jacket. I'm just at home, so.
Well, I mean, it looks pretty good without the jacket because you have a bright white shirt.
Yeah.
And a green tie.
Yep.
A green top hat,
Yep.
which is different from the usual black top hat.
Yeah, this is a little bit shorter than my usual black top hat, but this is a leprechaun green.
And for context, you have kind of squarish dark glasses, like every leprechaun wears.
Yep.
A gold watch and a big red beard.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of red, but yeah.
It looks pretty red right now. So it's a vibe. I think if we use some what do they call that? Like a super forced perspective type of shot today. We could make you a leprechaun. I think you should do that in this video. The entire time you should be like miniature.
And I'm dressed like this because it is St. Paddy's Day tomorrow.
Oh my God, really? Is that why? I thought this was just
no, just kidding. It's it's actually July. No, yeah, it's St. Patrick's Day tomorrow, and this is my favorite holiday, I would say. Probably my favorite holiday. Because it's socially acceptable to get plastered, right? And this is the first one in 3 years that we can go to a bar.
Well, yeah.
There's been restrictions.
Missed 2 years, yeah.
2 years, yeah. This is the third year, but like the last two St. Patrick's Days have been closed for COVID. So,
for us, which is been extremely emotionally distressing.
Yeah, but last year we it was actually, I was looking at memories, like pictures, there was no fucking snow on the ground.
Yeah, we were like having a barbecue.
We had a bonfire and a barbecue.
yeah, it was great.
Anyway, cheers to St. Patrick. Tyler and I did a deep dive of exactly who St. Patrick was. And we did 30 hours of research between the two of us, and it turns out he was just some guy.
Yep.
Anyway, welcome to Alcohol Beyond This Point.
So that's enough of that.
Yeah, that's
They gave him a day because
that finishes our segment. Anyway, welcome to Alcohol Beyond This Point, the podcast where Tyler and I discuss business topics, both sober and drunk, to see if we come to the same conclusion. We are totally drinking Irish whiskey right now because of St. Patrick's Day. It's not American whiskey if you read the label.
It was probably an Irishman involved.
There was probably an Irishman involved at some point.
And he probably dressed just like you.
I have never met an Irishman before. Except Irish Paul.
I was going to say, what about Irish Paul?
Okay, Irish Paul does not dress like this.
Missed opportunity.
I agree. No, I think he'd be very offended if you like if you're
Certainly.
like, you should wear a top hat.
Yeah, I can imagine a lot of cussing.
Yeah, surely I have Irish heritage, right? With the red in my beard.
I don't know, do you?
I don't know my family. I
Well,
don't know my parents, right? So
lick a stick and find out.
no, do you fucking 23andMe like won a lawsuit because they were selling DNA to the FBI. And then the customers were like, what the fuck, you can't do that? And then the court was like, no, they can.
Nice.
You give out, as soon as you give that DNA up, they're under no obligation. They're not doctors. They're under no obligation to protect it. So like, if you've ever done a DNA test, at least in America, like to trace your ancestry, the law enforcement probably has you on file somewhere.
Yeah.
So I don't know about that because I'm wanted.
Certainly, yeah.
I have a warrant for my arrest in Minnesota.
Yeah, but you didn't lick a stick there, so they don't know.
Yeah, but it's an American company, these fucking, like, these Ancestry.com or whatever. Right?
But they would just be getting you by name then.
I don't know, man. I don't like...
There's no extradition for speeding tickets.
That's true. But there is extradition for fleeing a country There probably isn't. It wasn't a felony. So
You can't get extradited for fleeing to your own country.
you know, here's the thing. I think you can get extradited for a lot less.
Yeah, like speaking your mind.
But I'm Irish, so I'll never get extradited back to Ireland. Surely between I have like my hair is brown, but when my beard grows like as long as it is, like it's pretty long right now, just because of COVID and everything. When it's this long, it starts coming red through. And then I also have. Do you know anybody else with a higher alcohol tolerance than me? It took them that long to think about it, so I think between those two things alone, I would assume I have Irish heritage.
That's astute.
Thank you. They say that God invented whiskey to prevent the Irish from taking over the world.
And
that was the whole parable.
Oh yeah, that's what. That's why they have St. Patrick's Day. Yeah, it's all connected.
Isn't it about like rats?
I don't fucking
Didn't
know.
they? The Pied Piper. Does that have something to do with it?
You already know more than me. I mean, I know everything because we deep dove.
Yeah, deep dove.
Everything.
That was my nickname in high school, I guess.
Deep dove.
Do we have any business things to talk about? The first like 5 minutes
are always bullshit.
Of every podcast is like the most important time to get your listener hooked, and we also always have the shittiest content in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to deal with because
we're idiots.
No, warming up into a conversation.
You know how like YouTube videos do it, like hour-long YouTube videos?
Yeah, they just cut out the beginning, right?
Well, no, they do it by the first like 10 seconds is like a clip show of like this week on whatever. Right. Like that's what a lot of long vlog kind of YouTube videos do.
Right. Yeah.
So I've
so you put the hot takes in the front.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, I want to hear more about that, and then you watch the whole video, right?
Yeah.
So, hot take. Willows shoves something in his eyeball. Stay tuned.
I was gonna say, in all seriousness, something I was actually thinking about was, I know it's kind of obviously overplayed by everybody, and it's fucking cliched at this point, but the just the beauty of having a form of free speech, and just I keep thinking about it and how it's getting just absolutely bastardized most places.
Unless you're telling the truth, then you don't have any free speech.
Exactly.
I went to the trucker protest, and now my bank account is frozen.
Right. Like, it's easy to think that this shit is just, it's all happening for the first time, and it's like, oh, they're infringing on our rights now. It's like, it's kind of always been like this.
Yeah,
you've just never had anything to be controversial about.
Yeah, I maintain that that we don't actually have any freedom in this country, but it's for the opposite reasons why the truckers think we don't have any freedom.
Yeah, I mean, we have a reasonable amount of freedom, but it's like you don't...
Well, do you, though?
Yes. Well, you have a lot of freedom, but you have freedom of movement, you have freedom of...
Kind of.
Commerce, you have freedom of, like, relationships and interactions.
Well, commerce, unless you fuck with any of the giant corporations, and movement,
well, that's what I was gonna say. Unless you bump up against these guardrails.
Yeah, no. So
and guardrails being like civil disobedience, disagreeing with the government's narrative.
Freedom is the ability to like pick the slave job that you have to work to feed your family, and then you get to pick 13 different flavors of Frosted Flakes. So that's freedom.
Well, it's. I mean, you're...
Like, I'm still forced to participate in capitalism. How's that freedom?
Okay, commie Tucker Carlson.
In a fucking parallel universe, commie Tucker Carlson?
Yeah, no, I want to see that show. God damn.
The fucking state! He's just yelling.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
No, my point is that this has always been the state of affairs. It's just... You're ignorant to it because you, like I said,
because you're white.
Well, yeah, you don't have anything against you. You don't have any opposition. You don't have any like this. That's why Black Lives Matter gets so much flack from fucking white people, is because they think they're like, why are you making so much trouble? There's no trouble if you just stay along and you get along to go along, whatever the fuck you want to say. That's not everyone's reality.
Yeah.
And that lady that jumped up on Russian TV and flashed the sign saying, like, they're lying to you about the war, this is all fake.
Yeah.
She got an extremely light sentence, actually.
Why?
A few $100 fine, and they, like, let her off.
Because she's white?
Well, they're Russians. They're all white.
Oh, yeah.
They just passed a law that would sentence you to, like, 18 years if you did something like that, but for some reason they just let her off easy.
So you think there's something else going on?
There's some theories about, like, the oligarch that owns the news network, like, traded favors with Putin, or maybe he was using her, or, like, put her up to it and said, like, I've got a get out of jail free card for you if you do this for me, and then if you do this for me, then he gets, like, some kind of trump card with Putin saying, look what I can do to you if you fuck with me. Like, maybe it's something like that. Like, there's no way of knowing. It's a weird hierarchy. Or it could have just been they have already had enough bad publicity. Maybe they just wanted to, give up a freebie to the people, which doesn't seem likely. So it's like, who the fuck knows?
Maybe she's going to die of fucking plutonium 877.
Right. Exactly.
Like 6 months from now, she'll die in her sleep.
Yeah, they just give her high five with some Novichok, and she fucking dies on the way out. Like,
Yeah.
for all we know.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
But
she
that's
dies of ricin. Like,
yeah. That's not the really relevant part. It's just more so how she also released a video statement before she did it, or I guess it released at about the same time that she did it, but she pre-recorded it saying how she's like, I'm sorry for propagating the lies, enforcing the propaganda, and, like, just doing this year after year and lying to everyone. She's like, I just can't do it anymore, and she just gave out. Like, that I feel like most people don't realize that's the reality, because name a corporation that is 100% loyalty from its people. Like, sure, you can muzzle people to some certain extent, but, like,
scare them or bribe them, but
that stuff
loyalty
always gets out in some degree as well. Anyways,
yeah, but
right?
real loyalty is hard to get.
Well, it's not just hard to get; it's impossible to get 100% of the time.
Yeah, on any meaningful scale.
On any meaningful scale, which is what is always the grand conspiracy against, name a thing, is they're all against me. It's the media. They're doing this to me. It's like, yeah, sure, the narrative is fucked, but it's like it always has a kernel of truth, right?
And then you see American media. I sent that picture in the group chat today. It was a headline that said, "Officer involved shooting leaves the officer dead and wife in critical condition."
Yeah.
And if you read the story, the wife or the husband, who was a cop, tried to murder his estranged wife, shot her a bunch of times, and then killed himself.
Yeah.
And then she survived. And the headline says, "Officer involved shooting leaves a police officer killed and the wife in critical injury, even though it was him."
Yeah.
And that's like mainstream American media.
That's
what the actual fuck.
That is some fucking gymnastics with the pen on that one.
Oh my God.
Like, good job, honestly. Great. Good for you.
It's so, like, I find it ironic, the people that are like, "Oh, that could never happen here," when they look at Russia.
Yeah.
And it's like, you have more, like, Canada and America probably have more fucking propaganda put down their throats than anybody. We just
100%.
We just don't realize, like, at least, like, the people in, like, North Korea, or I don't know what they realize, but do they realize that Kim Jong-un didn't invent the hamburger? Maybe, right? Like, maybe they're like, oh, maybe there's some bullshit here. But, like, but we read shit and we just believe it.
Yeah, because it's plausible.
Yeah, which I guess is,
or at least it fits the rest of the plausible narrative we believe.
Yeah, which I guess is like, it's not totalitarian censorship and manipulation and propaganda like China, where you just erase events from history and jail anyone that talks about it. It's creating a false narrative that all of us kind of want to believe.
Yeah, and China's angle is, though, they don't say we're not censoring it. They're like, no, we're censoring the fuck out of you. This is draconian, and this is the cost of your
security. This
is like, this security, these draconian measures is the cost of your way of life, and that's just how it is. If you don't like it, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Also, you can't leave.
Yeah, and then America just pretends
just gaslights the shit out of you.
Yeah, no. It wasn't officer-involved shooting. Fuck you. Like,
see, what the power of the American media is not not necessarily misinformation. It's because it's too hard to have just straight raw misinformation these days. I mean, like you figure it out pretty quickly. You can't do it like in a sustained, like mass constant. Oh, like if you're wrong every day, I mean, I guess you can kind of do that. But my point is, like, they're not taking things that are complete falsehoods. They're just putting the spotlight on things that are not useful to you for you to know, or they're just distracting you from something that's more useful to know. It's just about context, right? Like the fact that we see Ukrainian civilians being killed, like the fact that there's a Ukrainian family that gets hit by a shell in a humanitarian escape corridor, and that picture was taken seconds after they were bombed. Like the dust hadn't even settled. They take that picture and they immediately post it as like the banner on New York Times website, and then it goes onto the front page above the fold next day on the New York Times.
Yeah.
They're not doing that for fucking Somalia. They're not doing it for Yemen. Like, there's no attention. Like,
Yeah,
the news
like,
cycle doesn't even fucking care about it.
The genocide that's happening in Yemen right now has been going on for what, 4 years, 6 years, something like that.
And they talk about it, but they don't spotlight it.
What was JL saying yesterday? Like 500,000 civilians have been killed in 4 years, and the amount of news stories written about it has already been in Western media has already been surpassed by the amount of news stories written about Ukraine, which has been happening for 2 weeks.
Yeah. And we're talking 3,000 civilian deaths compared to 500,000.
Yeah, well, it's like, there was that TikTok I saw that was like, it's like, oh, there's this war and people are dying and civilians are getting bombed. Then the guy's like, okay, whatever, that happens every day. He's like, but they're white people. And he's like, oh my God, and starts panicking. And
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, man. Like,
Someone call New York Times.
Fuck, like, it's hard to, like, obviously I have sympathy for civilians getting fucking killed, but it's like, it's so hard to have...
Yeah, the point here is...
a strong opinion, you know what I mean?
This is not... We're not getting into this for whataboutism. I'm saying this just simply because... demonstrate the point.
We're being manipulated. You can empirically see the fact that Canada refuses to acknowledge that Palestinians are getting genocided.
Yeah.
But then send hundreds of thousands of dollars of weapons to Ukrainians is just dishonest.
Yeah, like I heard the story about the Palestinian congresswoman. I always forget her fucking name. She's in what, Michigan? I think Michigan. But she was going to host this fundraiser to raise funds for like humanitarian aid in Palestine, because her family's there. Like her immediate family currently lives there while she's serving, which is crazy. And the night that she had this fundraiser plan for, she spent all this effort and all this money on inviting people. Like every single Democratic congressperson was invited, and their staffs and like their significant others. Like there's hundreds of invites sent, and she was personally calling people. And when the RSVP time, wherever that cycle came, she got 3 responses, and like none of them were coming, and the rest of them were just non-answers. And then she found out that the party whip had set a meeting, like shortly after she sent out these invites, had set a meeting that was compulsory. It was like, if you do not show up to this meeting, you're like kicked out of the party, for the same date and time and city as her event.
Just to sabotage her thing.
And she would then have to not... She couldn't even go to her own event, because if she did, she would lose her seat.
Yeah.
And it was like immediately after. It was like...
And it
wasn't even discussed. This is the Democratic Party.
And this is the left-leaning party.
Yeah.
Well, left-leaning in quotations.
Yeah, quote, quote, quote.
But...
For sure.
It's because, Canadian politics have a unspoken rule as well called anything but Israel, where...
Yeah, there's nearly as many Zionists on the left as there are on the right. Probably about the same.
You can criticize anything except Israel. You can't bring it up. You can't talk about it.
Yeah, because if you do, you get called anti-Semitic, and this was even by the squad, like the progressive left, quote unquote, group of non-white Congress people that got elected in like 2018. They're called
AOC that signs the $1 trillion war bill, but cries while she does it.
Right.
She feels bad genociding people, but she still does it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's Ilhan Omar, and I forget who the others are.
Rashid.
Yeah.
whatever, and AOC, Omar, and then
But yeah, they're not even backing her up.
yeah.
They're all pro-Israel.
There's a it's a hot button topic. Like
Extremely.
There's a restaurant here just on Portage Avenue called Yafa Cafe, and they're Palestinians.
Yeah.
Proud, like they have big Palestinian flag and everything, and they actually took down the big Palestinian flag on top of the building because they were getting vandalized. Like it was getting like torn down and shit, and they're like, okay, we'll tone it down. And it's like, why? Like, you know what I mean? Like the flag, it's not like these are just people. You know what I mean? Like, how is that different? And then I'm driving down, and people have spray painted the fucking the snowbank in front of their house, the Ukrainian flag.
Yeah.
No one's fucking vandalizing that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like.
I mean, look at Winnipeg in general. Nearly all of our significant buildings, landmarks, universities, institutions
Have
are
put up
all
a Ukrainian flag.
No, I was gonna say
Well, that too.
they're all backed by like JNF, like like Zionist tangent groups.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
And it's just that's big money in this city is always from Jewish foundations, Jewish business owners.
Fine, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, I have nothing against that. Like I think the way that this congresswoman said it, she's like, I have zero problem with Jews. She's like, I'm not anti-Semitic. She's like, I'm pro-Israel. I'm anti-Zion. Like Zionism. I'm anti-expansionism. She's like, there's a solution here, but it's not look the other way and criticize anyone who disagrees with you.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think we won't dive into it anymore, but do you think there's a two-state solution here?
Its current school of thought is two states is actually impossible right now, unless it maybe was possible a couple years ago, but Israel has been just cutting up Palestinian territory, and they basically split it up in such a way that they couldn't even physically.
They can't travel through it.
Well, yeah, they can't even draw it on a map. It's not even possible, which was absolutely their intention. So a two-state solution is not even possible anymore.
They both want it because Jerusalem's like has all these like holy landmarks, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what the U.S. should do is just blow up the holy landmark.
Why don't they take Istanbul? Like, that's fucking important.
Back to Constantinople.
Yeah, like
you know when like
if
it's like your kids are fighting over a toy, so you fucking take away the toy from both of them.
Right.
Just.
Well, the argument is if you go for a one-state solution, you're taking away the right for self-actualization for the both of them. Neither of them get to have the state they want.
Yeah.
So you're fucking over both of them. So it's like that's why you need a two-state solution. But two-state has been made impossible because
Tyler, you know what that's called? A compromise.
Yeah, no, that's but that was the defensive line, was you're denying Israel their right to have a nation and to self-actualize, whatever. Like, that's un-American was the argument.
Ugh.
So it's like, okay, yeah, no, they're not wrong because that's what America was built on. Except they just
this is mine now.
Yeah, except they just had the benefit of disease killed all the natives, and they didn't have to do it themselves.
Well, except in
I mean, they did a lot,
except
but
in
not
Hawaii, Guam, Panama, Grenada.
But those weren't like their prime. That was expansionist. That wasn't like their mainland.
Yeah, that's fine.
Like, they were already a nation when they started doing that shit.
Well, they took Texas from the Mexicans.
I mean, they didn't really want it anyways. Have you seen Texas?
No, actually.
It's not pretty.
Let's go to the Alamo. Let's go to the Alamo and start shooting at people.
Yeah, that'll go great. Go to Texas and shoot at someone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you get gunned down in a fucking
forgot
second.
Americans just have guns.
One of my favorite stupid American videos is some idiot goes and tries to rob a Texas gun store.
Great idea.
And, like, every single person in the store, like, every customer, every staff member, just all pull guns on him. And he's like, looks around, he's like, oh fuck, he's staring down like 11 barrels, and they just fucking open up on him.
Nice.
And it's like, what did you think was going to happen?
Yeah. I saw one a long time ago that was like, buddy's like, hey, can I hold the gun? He's like buying one, pulls out a clip out of his pocket and loads it. He's like, haha.
Clever.
Yeah. It's weird to think about, like, do you equate, like, I'm in the liquor industry, right?
Are you?
Do you, yeah, I empirically am. Do you equate my industry on the same kind of moral level as the gun industry?
No.
Okay.
Because guns are killing other people and liquor is just self-harm.
Alcoholism
Nope.
kills more people than firearms.
Yeah, but not by, like... I don't kill you with alcoholism. You kill you with alcoholism.
That's fair.
And it's very slow. If you had to shoot someone, like, 52... maybe 60,000 times in order to
If
kill
I had
them.
to shoot them every day for 17 years before their liver gave out,
And not just like
then,
once, but like all day.
then okay, all right.
I don't think there's any equivalence.
I don't really have a counter argument. I was just curious. I guess it's like they're both kind of morally ambiguous.
I think gun production in itself, like it falls under the same purview as like their own personal defense of like a gun is a tool, but also it's like, yeah, making guns, making tools is not inherently evil. People will always find ways to kill each other. It's just how it's just the industrial complex and the fact that these companies push for war.
Yeah, well, I guess like selling Joe Schmo selling a fucking AK-47 to a guy with Hello Kitty on it to a guy at a gun shop or a gun show. That's one thing. And then there's fucking Halliburton like selling missiles to Ukraine, right? Like that's another
and then
thing, right?
also to Russia.
Yeah. I mean, like historically, big weapons manufacturers, especially U.S. weapons manufacturers, have funded both sides of every conflict pretty much forever. I mean, you look at, I know like the Rothschild dynasty has been funding both sides of each war since like France and England going at it in the 1600s.
Yeah, it's called hedging.
Yeah, I mean, like, it is what it is. Well, you can make, it's the whole thing. Like, the person that made all the money during the gold rush sold the pickaxes, right? Like, if you sell the guns and the supplies to both sides, you can remain safe and impartial and profit off of both.
Yeah, I think that Nick Cage movie, what's it called?
Lord of War.
Lord of War, yeah.
I was going to quote that as well. He was like, I'm just when his wife's like, you're killing people. And he's like, I'm helping them defend themselves. Like, and he really believed that.
Yeah. I mean, this
is a real guy. Nick Cage played him in a movie, but it was a real guy.
No, it was Nick Cage.
Yes.
He was playing Steven Seagal in real life.
Okay, yeah, true. What are the odds Steven Seagal is currently fighting on Russia's side, like in the trenches?
0. He's literally a pussy. You would just show up for the photo shoot and then he would go home. He's literally just a pussy.
No, that's what he wants you to think.
No, he's just a pussy.
You know who else is just a pussy?
My
you,
God.
every time we're about to move into the segment that we call Shot Goller, the part of the show where you, the audience, can pick the shot that we're going to take.
So, I love that we do a shot segment when we're already drinking straight liquor.
What are you in the mood for?
Now we pick.
We're going with a green theme.
All right, we're going to the green theme.
We're going with a green theme because of St. Patrick's Day. So Jägermeister is the only green bottle of hard liquor I have. So we're doing a Jägermeister. Where do they make this? Germany? Yes. Wolfenbüttel.
Jaeger, you don't say.
I don't. Smirnoff is made in fucking America.
Was it always? I guess
Yeah.
it could have been a German. Oh, you know what's amazing? I've gotten one of my workers into podcasts, which is great. And his soft entry into, not just like sports podcasts, but
Get him
like,
into this podcast.
like hard history and stuff like that.
Get him into this podcast.
Okay.
Then we can have 10 listeners.
He listens to me all day already.
Ugh.
But anyways, he just all of a sudden looked up today and he like whatever pauses what was going on. He's like, should we take a shot?
Yeah. So, sorry, the segment had to pause there for a second because I had to stand up to go get the alcohol. Thank you, Jägermeister, for sponsoring this episode. I mean, thank you,
What do I do? Chase this with my whiskey?
thank you, St. Patrick, for sponsoring this video.
But yeah, so he just looks up and he's like, holy shit. I'm like, what? He's like, I didn't know that, like, America hired, like, so many Nazis.
That was the whole thing.
It's like he was just learning this for the first time. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Is he from here?
he's immigrated from the Philippines.
Yeah. So maybe they probably learned less.
Well, it's not something you fucking learn in school.
Well, Duarte's a fascist.
Yeah, well,
So-
now, but he was gone long
Oh, I
long
guess
before
that's
that, right? Like he's
yeah, Duarte's been the president for 77 years, right?
no, he's been here for 20 years.
Yeah, okay, well, that's fair. But I think Philippines has always leaned very far right.
Well, they're just conservative.
They're Catholic, I think, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they're just everything that the Spanish are, or were.
You know what
rather.
you don't expect? The Spanish Inquisition.
Wow, came out of nowhere. Oh my god.
Got him. Came from the Philippines. Do you think we should hire some Nazis?
I think there's a lot of benefits. For what?
Sound engineering for the podcast.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I don't know.
At this point, it's just Canadian. It's just purely Canadian thing to do is to
Hire Nazis.
yeah, hire Nazis, help them, pay them, arm them.
Is that why
Defend
we're on?
them.
Is that why we're on Ukraine's side in this conflict? Because they're Nazis, and and Canada's also racist.
Okay,
We're like, we want to genocide people too.
okay. I can sum up all foreign policy decisions since about 1950
White is
to
right.
today and into the future.
White is right.
If they're commies, they die.
Yep.
If they're not, we give them guns to kill commies.
Which is funny because like Putin's like not a commie.
What do you mean? I think he is.
Putin's like farther right than America is.
Yeah, he's really far. Actually, well, I shouldn't say he's super far right. He's actually more center than people realize. Like his Alexei Navalny, his primary challenger, is quite a bit further right than he is.
Really?
Yeah,
That's funny.
he's considered a moderate.
That's
like
interesting.
Putin's politics. He's actually a moderate.
Yeah.
He's just become an authoritarian.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I mean, power corrupts. In that,
Absolute power corrupts Putin absolutely.
yeah, you take your top like. Just think about what it takes to be a top-level spy in Russia in like 70s, 80s, 90s. Think about what it takes to be a top-level Russian spy.
Probably not much. I could have done it.
You're dealing with...
If I was in the KGB, they would have won the Cold War.
I think they did win the Cold War.
That is 100% fair.
That is a spicy take. That's a spicy meatball. Yeah, no, he's a fucking savage politician. And then he gets tapped by the oligarchs to run the country. Like, what do you think happens? Like, the guy doesn't ever want to let go of power. And he was doing great. Like, up until, I remember, like, when I just started getting into listening to podcasts and following politics at, like, you know, less than 2 years ago. And it was already general consensus at that point. They're like, oh, Putin's extremely popular, but, like, maybe his popularity is waning a little bit, but his approval rating's still, like, obscenely high. And, they're talking about him in this light.
Well, he wins elections.
And today he's Hitler.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
in the this, not very long ago, he was a man of the people. He was a favorite of the people.
Especially with America.
He stayed long enough to see himself become the villain, basically.
Because him and Trump were like friends or at least on better terms. Like, I think a lot of Americans that hated Russia just because of their parents hated Russia.
Yeah.
I think they were coming around to the fact that Russia wasn't an enemy anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got one of two, or one thing or the other about Trump and Putin has got to be true. One of them is Putin has him over a barrel in
Which
terms
is
of
100%
debt
plausible.
or blackmail or something. like it's either financial and business or it's like literal blackmail. Like
I wonder
you
what
got him to do something and he has blackmail over
I
him.
wonder what could come out about Trump that would make his followers. I guess like Epstein.
I don't think
stuff.
I don't think it's something coming. I don't think it's about his image. I think it's like criminal.
Oh, and like they would just put him in jail. If
Yeah,
they knew.
or he would be able to ruin him, like in business wise.
Well, doesn't he have? Doesn't
He owes money to Russian oligarchs.
Yeah, doesn't Putin have a video of Hunter Biden like doing cocaine and banging underage hookers or something?
Oh, probably.
Well, that was a whole thing. They like released something. Or,
Yeah, and his laptop went missing and all this kind of shit.
yeah.
But no, the video was actually supposedly a video, or there was a video scandal supposedly of like Trump pissing on like some sex workers
I think he was getting pissed on.
or getting pissed on or something like that.
Which like the fact that the left kink shames him
I mean,
is just
so
peak irony.
yeah,
right?
shame on you. Go to Russia, do something completely consensual and legal, and shame them for it.
Yeah, it's like, come on. Yeah, I remember that during the
Right.
campaign trail, them
Yeah.
trying to be like, oh, rah, 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 rah. And
Yeah,
it's
like I'll never judge the morality of someone's fucking sex tapes as long as
The-
everything's
the
consensual.
the things that I do would kill a small Victorian child just for hearing it.
And like the stupid notion of like, or politicians should be held to a higher standard, be more no, like no, the more suitable you are to politics, the more fucked up your sex is gonna be.
Yeah, and which is fine.
And
Like
it's just
it's
how
like,
it is.
It's like I haven't been a fan of.
I think Rasputin had it figured out.
Yeah, I do like Russian queens. My history teacher in my high school said I looked like Rasputin,
Perfect.
and I responded by saying, "Oh, that's a coincidence because I do like Russian queens." Anyway, but I
You should have said your wife thought that too.
yeah, I wasn't yeah. Anyway, but shout out Fritchie, but I haven't been a huge fan of Maxime Bernier, the leader of the farthest right party here in Canada. During COVID, I think
Not
he's
not the farthest right, but
whatever whatever. But
the Libertarian Party.
well, he's not. No, it's not the Libertarian Party. It's the People's Party. But
Fake libertarians.
yeah, whatever. Anyway, I think he's had some very very bad COVID takes, and I'm not been okay with those. But in the 90s, or the 2000s, he was a minister, and he was banging a girlfriend of a prominent Hell's Angel,
Okay.
and he left like sensitive national security documents in a Hell's Angel clubhouse. That was a whole scandal in the 90s.
That is incredible.
Yeah,
How is he not dead?
that's when I was somewhat associated with the People's Party back before it all went to shit. And that was like where people would criticize him for that. I'm like, dude, that's fucking awesome.
That's incredible.
You're like banging some biker chick, and he like presumably like the sex was so good he forgot his fucking laptop filled with national security secrets. Like, it's like it's pretty funny. I think that's fucking funny. And like the fact that I love when liberals, not leftists, when liberals try to be like, oh, Trump doesn't pay his taxes. I'm like, don't make me like Trump. Like, or they're like, Trump
Stop talking dirty to me.
Trump faked a bone spur diagnosis to avoid the draft.
The Vietnam draft.
And I'm like, that's hilarious.
we're not talking World War II. We're talking Nam.
Nam
And
was
nobody wanted to be there
Vietnam
anyways.
was an illegal war of basically genociding people that think slightly differently than us. And like brutally, like, you know what napalm is?
Yes.
It's gasoline that like sticks to you.
It's worse than gasoline.
It's like sugar and gasoline, and it sticks to your skin and melts it off. And they were just pouring that on women and children. And
It's I don't think you have your facts straight. I think that was the commies.
right.
They did it themselves.
And then Trump didn't want to be a part of that, and liberals actually think that's a gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, and like every veteran, every like soldier is like, you didn't want to go to Nam? They're like, oh yeah, well, that tracks.
We have you can kind of see it on the video. We have a Muhammad Ali poster behind us. Like,
That's true.
famously, he went to jail for draft dodging.
And people love, and the left loves him for that.
Yeah, the quote, the quote.
Oh God.
I'll kind of say the quote. He said, "No Vietnamese never called me no
N-word.
fella." Yeah, he said basically like, you know, like no person from Vietnam ever called me a slur. It's my enemies are here in America.
Yeah.
And he refused to go, and they put him in jail.
Yeah, I mean, like foreshadowing America's war on Muslims, like unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah. And then I think in prison he converted from Islam to the Nation of Islam, if I recall.
Meaning what? I'm sorry, I don't know the difference.
The Nation of Islam is like Scientology.
Oh.
It's they think
It's more secular.
No, they think aliens like created the earth or something.
Oh, so they're like scientifically backed.
Yeah, so it's like they believe in the truth. Like Muslims are crazy; they believe in God, but Nation of Islam is onto something where they think like lizard people created the earth or something. It's like it's batshit insane. It's crazy. But like have you actually read The Belief of Scientology?
I know more than I should.
Yeah, they literally think aliens from a planet called Xenu went into a spaceship and flew into a volcano, and that volcano exploded and became Earth.
Yeah.
They literally believe that. And then L. Ron Hubbard has a sex cult on a boat, or he's dead obviously, but like he did. And
No. The weird thing was, it wasn't even a sex thing. That was the weirdest thing.
no, there's allegations though apparently.
Not as much as you would expect.
Nothing's been proven.
It wasn't really. It wasn't. I shouldn't say it wasn't there, but it wasn't like a. It wasn't a part of the mission.
I think
he wasn't like a cult leader that's like, oh, you're part of the cult. That means you need to let me have sex with your
Blow
wife.
me 3 days a week.
No, it was that wasn't it for him.
No, I think one of the biggest things though is the forced labor thing.
Yeah, it was power with him.
Yeah.
He would have like little kids running errands for him and spying on people, like because little kids are very compliant, right? And they're sneaky and whatever. Like he would have little kids run errands for him and send messages and spy on people and get them in trouble and yeah, he would just took a bunch of young people out into the ocean is like, we are going to go find gold that I buried here 5,000 years ago that I know because of an ancestral memory that I've recovered.
What do they call it? It's something to do with energy. Like you have the energy of every one of your ancestors running through you, and you need to tap into that.
Right. So,
and that's why you have the thing they make fun of in Always Sunny, where you can like get your vibrations or whatever. Right. It's like it's a tool. And then in Always Sunny, they're always like, "Where do I put my feet?" And he's like, "Why is everyone asking that? Like, it doesn't matter where you put your feet." But that's what they're making fun of. But that's a real thing. They have like this like vibrating like metal tube that you hold on to, and it's supposed to like focus it. If you're actually interested, there's a Joe Rogan white supremacist podcast on the Joe Rogan White Supremacist Experience with the what's her name, from the girl from King of Queens.
Oh fuck, I don't know.
Just Google or YouTube or whatever Joe Rogan King of Queens, and it's a 3-hour story because she was in Scientology from before she was like when she was born.
Okay.
She's I want to say Leah or Rhea or something like that.
I'm gonna get it in like 2 seconds here.
Yeah. She was born into Scientology.
Yeah, Leah Remini.
Yeah, Leah Remini. So Joe Rogan, Leah Remini, and it's
I'm gonna look it up right now.
It's so you should give it a listen if you haven't. It's 2.5 hours of her explaining her entire from when she was born into Scientology. They lived on a fucking cult compound that she couldn't leave and shit.
Yeah.
Until she basically ran away. And then the scariest thing, and this is all real. She left Scientology, and then police arrested people in a van outside of her house stalking her with like automatic weapons and a bunch of fucking ammo, and they found no motive, and they never,
Yeah.
and none of them snitched, and it was just like, what the fuck is going on? And then at the time they chalked it up, or the police, I guess, chalked it up to, oh, she's famous, whatever. But 100% L. Ron Hubbard sent fucking a hit squad.
He's probably dead by
No,
then.
it was his kid. His son is in charge or whatever.
Ah.
But anyway, she said, listen to the whole thing. It's 2 hours of fucking stories. It's crazy. I was literally jaw dropped the entire time. I'm like, this is real. But the thing that stands out to me is that when she dumped it was, she went, so there's like levels, right?
Yeah.
So there's like levels, like, so once you get to like be a level 5 person, you allowed in the sanctum, and it's like the fucking the papal library,
Yeah.
where you can only go in, they go in and they lock a vault door behind you, and then they take the books and they have to watch you read the books.
Yeah.
And you can't take anything, you can't take pictures, you can't take notes. Like, it's like that. And they do that on the boat or whatever. And they're like, this is what happened. And she has her mother with her, like, you know, with her hand on her shoulder. And then the keeper of the books is there or whatever. And she starts reading it. And it's like, we're all aliens.
Yeah.
And it's like, and we talked to aliens, and there was and she starts reading this, and she's like, she thought it was a joke.
Yeah.
She's like, what is this? And then his mom's like, isn't that amazing? And then she's like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. Like, these people are literally insane.
That's incredible.
Yeah, they think there's like space aliens, and
Yeah.
not just space aliens, but like we are space aliens. Yeah. And like, yeah, it's a whole.
Like Stefan Arnio bought his way into that. I don't know which level, but he was at the point where he like had a private condo in their building in LA. Like, he had a place that was permanently his that he could go. It's
probably if you have the money, it's probably a good cult to join.
He was, I think, like, he was more than $50,000 in, of what I know.
Did he actually believe it, or was he just trying to do it?
It's a good fucking question. I know that he was getting into it, like, ironically.
Yeah, but that's what they all say,
because
right?
he wanted, yeah, right, exactly. But it was because he wanted to basically become the next L. Ron Hubbard.
Yeah.
So I think he was buying through for that reason, but he's also the kind of person that would really dive into, like, he really wants to believe that shit.
Yeah.
Like, really wants to.
See, I'm the opposite, where I find stuff like that fascinating.
And to be fair, when he died, he was like born again Christian, so make of that as you will.
Yeah. It's this reminds me, rest in peace, Stefan Arnio, by the way. It's just one of my favorite things in the world is in, you know, The Mummy with Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
Benny, the fucking guy that wears like the fez or whatever, and he's just like the annoying side. He's like like, I forgot the character's name, but he's like, Brendan, you're on the wrong side of the river. And he's like, but I have all the, or no, he's like, I have all the horses, because they like the plane crashed or whatever. He's like, I have all the horses. He's like, I'm on the right side of the river. And he's like, fuck, like, that guy. Anyway, but right at it's either Mummy 1 or 2, I don't know, one of them, where he's about to get killed by the fucking mummy, and he just reaches into his shirt and pulls out like 19 different religious symbols. He has like a cross and a fucking Confucius thing and a Buddha and like a Muslim thing and a fucking Star of David, and he has like all these necklaces, and he starts saying a prayer in English, and then he starts saying, like, holds up the Jew one, says a prayer in Hebrew, holds up and he's just like, this fucking guy.
He's just like, trying everything.
Right at the last second, he's just like, if I have to die, I'm gonna throw everything against the wall to try and save my soul. It's like,
oh, that's what you mean. I thought you meant he was trying to ward off the mummy.
No, he's like trying to like
say his last rites.
Maybe both, but like like that's kind of he's like trying to get into heaven at the last second.
That's amazing. Yeah,
I want to say Elvis used to wear a Star of David.
Yeah,
he's like, I'm a Christian, but I don't want to go to hell if I'm wrong or something like that. Yeah. So he would like, it was something like that. Like,
I think there's like, unironically, there's some merit to that idea, because in nearly every religion, that's considered okay. Like, you can convert at the last possible moment.
Yeah, which is funny. But I just mean, like, because like Stefan was dying of cancer, and then he became a devout Christian, and it's like, I get how one's own mortality could make your brain kind of snap
for sure.
and want
Yeah.
to and want to, you know, oh, this is just the end.
Yeah, how do you turn from being like a completely to the end supremely rational person to that? I guess it's like, yeah, facing down your own mortality.
Hey, dude, like if I fucking knew I was gonna die in like a month,
You'd be like the guy from The Mummy.
well, I don't know what the fuck I
You'd literally no. I can imagine Willows about to die from alcohol, obviously.
of course.
So he's in the hospital room, and there's a line outside of his door of there's a leprechaun for some reason.
Perfect.
There's a priest. There's a really hip looking youth pastor. There's a there's a rabbi. And
You know who alcohol beyond this point? You know who else was beyond his point? A little guy named Jesus.
Right. So all these guys are lined up outside his hospital room. Yeah.
That's the Muslim one.
Yeah, and then like the door opens and like a Buddhist monk walks out and he like leaves, and then the Catholic priest walks in.
Yeah.
It's just like you just got the whole lineup out the door.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm hedging.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm hedging. Wait, hedging or edging?
Yes.
Right. I'm also edging.
To the end.
To the end, baby. Yeah, I don't know, man. I was talking yesterday. I was just curious. I was reading about like the smartest, like Nikola Tesla and like the smartest people ever recorded.
And they're all commies.
Well, that's a different conversation. I haven't done my own research on that. But
That's fair.
I found it interesting. Like, are there any modern examples of people that can just do fucking everything? Like, we were talking about it yesterday. Like, Leonardo da Vinci didn't want to be a painter or an artist, but he couldn't fund his like engineering and science projects. So he's like, oh, I guess I'll paint some shit. And now like Mona Lisa, right? Like best paintings ever made as his like side thing.
Yeah.
Right? And like he had I think it was it on like Top Gear or something. They took his helicopter design and they built it and it worked.
With like aircraft aluminum, yeah.
And it's like, oh, like he had a design for a fucking fighter jet that would have worked, but they like didn't have aluminum back then, right? So it's like he designed like a helicopter, he designed all this shit, he designed a tank which very much looks like the fucking like Sherman tanks that we did use in like World War II.
Yeah.
Like Da Vinci was, 500 years before was just coming up with shit that like how do you personally invent like a helicopter when you've never seen something fly before?
Well, I'm sure there is, but somebody else owns his IP, and we'll find about it. We'll find out about it in 500 years.
Sure. Anyway, but like my point being,
like there has to be like multiple. Like the fact there's so many more people in the world, and I guess the argument is there's always been actually a shitload of people like him, but
maybe the research is lost forever.
No, most of them were cracking rocks in a mine somewhere.
Yeah.
Or were getting whipped while they picked cotton.
And yeah, we were saying, it's no coincidence that all the smartest people in history were all white Europeans. It's because they
were the only ones that had time to sit around and think about shit.
Yeah, well, or the brown geniuses would have been killed by crusaders and whatnot, right? Yeah. But fucking Tesla spoke 8 languages fluently, including Latin.
Yeah.
He never wrote anything down. He could do complex like engineering blueprints in his head. Like,
yeah.
Do we have people that are that smart anymore? Like,
I'm sure we do.
Besides Tom Cruise, like I can't name a single person that's like good at everything.
Well, there has to be. Like they're probably like the guys that are behind like Anonymous and taking down states with a fucking couple of keystrokes. Like they've got to be out there.
Like Trump's obviously that kind of level.
Obviously.
Like
he's playing 7D chess.
Yeah, he invented...
And we're out here thinking he's an idiot. It's just we're the doopies.
Yeah,
for sure.
we are the doopies. Yeah, for sure. Trump is a duper.
He's a duper.
I'll
I'll agree on that.
Yeah, 100%. If you don't know, if you don't listen to a lot of these episodes, my political philosophy is quoting Frank Reynolds. There's dupers and dupies. I'm a duper. You're a dupie. That is my entire political philosophy boiled down. I don't care about sides anymore. I don't care about left and right.
I feel like if you're in power, if you're in office, you're a duper. You kind of have to be.
For the most part, unless I'm certain there's a lot of politicians that are just figureheads and being manipulated.
Stop talking about Biden like that.
And being used. In case those people are obviously dupies, but Trump is absolutely a duper, 100%. There's no way. And people are always like, ho, 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 he lost $1 billion. It's like, who gives a shit? He's living like a king for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Like.
Well, literally like a king because he is God King Trump.
Yeah. Literally. So we're going to take a second shot here. If you watch the show, anytime we take a shot of something under 40%, we always take 2.
And sometimes we do it anyways. It's a nice sound.
Yeah. So, last thing I kind of wanted to mention, just to get it on the record, I think I want to get into the watch business.
Okay.
So I've been really, well, I like watches like since I was a kid. Like teenager, I was always really interested in timepieces and just never knew a lot about it. Like I knew I liked them. I knew I liked looking at them. I knew I wanted to buy fancy ones.
Yeah.
But I never knew a lot about them. And since the pandemic, but more specifically in the last 6 months, I've been watching a lot more content on YouTube and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple people, Nico Leonard and Roman Scharf. They're both YouTubers, and they do behind the scenes. They're gray market dealers, they call them. So Rolex, you can't buy a watch from Rolex.
Right.
They have to call you.
Okay.
So all their authorized dealers, you can't just walk in there and buy a Rolex. You need to get on a list, and it's a whole process. And they purposely, if there's 300,000 people that want to buy a Rolex every year, they'll purposely make 250,000 of them.
Right.
Just to keep them exclusive. And that's Rolex's business model. Which is why I just learned this pretty recently. Tudor watches, Tudor, both founded by Hans Willdorf at this Rolex and Tudor at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Using now uses the same movements and everything. But the idea was Tudor was for more reasonable, because Tudor watches are between $3,000 and $5,000.
Yeah.
Rolex is the cheapest new Rolex you can get now is $10,000.
Right.
And then market's going fucking hot right now. You're buying
yeah, they're an inflation hedge.
Yeah, it's but anyway, Rolex's entire business model from the start has been exclusivity, right? But there's these gray market dealers, they're called. It's not black market. They're not illegal. They're real Rolexes. But these gray market people will resell watches, buy and sell watches that are real and have papers and whatever, but just outside of the regular channels of the authorized dealers.
Right.
So
they're not illegal, but they're not strictly.
They're not
strictly the pipeline.
They're not endorsed by Rolex.
Right.
But they'll sell other watches, but Rolex is the most known, right? So these few people I've been watching on YouTube are gray market dealers that have stores. One, Nico's in Ireland, and he has this great store in this hotel in Dublin. And then Roman's in Philadelphia in America, and he's doing $100 million a year of watches. And he has this show on YouTube called Gray Market, which I've been watching, which is super cool. It's basically a behind the scenes of his operation.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of watch porn and stuff, which I like, but then it's also they'll have long uninterrupted shots of him in business meetings and stuff like that, which is cool.
Yeah.
And it's you see how the business runs, right? But I've been watching these, and I'm it's something I'm passionate about, the watch itself. And then I've run businesses before, and I'm this is a kind of cool business to be in. So I think I want over the next couple years, I think I want to start a side little thing.
So do you think you'd get into that realm of becoming a trader, dealer of them?
So what I want to do first,
Like start by buying and selling?
yes, before I have a store. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's got to.
100%.
It's got to self-fund itself.
Yes. Yeah.
If you
So-
can't run it online through social media, through just networking, you're not going to build a business.
Yes, 100%. So what I want to do, and this is why I want to say I don't like talking about my plans before I do them because I like talking about my accomplishments.
Yeah.
But for posterity, I want to. This is
Put it out there.
The 16th of March 2022. This is
Mm-hmm.
when I'm starting this kind of project. So I bought actually some watches from just a thrift store yesterday. And this is just an experiment. I want to see if I can crack them open, put new batteries and stuff like that. I want to see if I'm capable of doing that.
Yeah.
Like servicing them basically myself. And then I'm going to make like an Instagram and I want to try and like flip them. I bought them for like $10 a piece. I'm going to try and sell for $20 a piece.
Right.
And that's 50% margin. Rolex, you're making fucking 2% margin.
Well, it's 100% margin, but yes.
Okay, well, you know what I mean.
Yes.
Like, and I've always been like that with my wine too. It's like if you can sell a fucking, $9.99 bottle of wine, you can sell a fucking $30 bottle of wine, right?
Yeah.
And it's just about scale, but it's more about learning the skills to be able to do it, right? So that's I think where I want to start with vintage, and then eventually move up to luxury because obviously buying luxury inventory is going to be very expensive.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's a saturated market with a lot of enthusiasts. So it's like, what are you going to do? The first thing that came to my mind when you started talking, was what's your angle? You got to have an angle.
I agree. My angle, there's no one else doing it in this province, to my knowledge.
Well, except for jewelers specifically, I imagine.
I'm gonna go check out some.
Because one of my uncles was a watch guy.
Okay.
He started his business and lived his entire life because he got fascinated with watches, and he started fucking around with them and like taking them apart and rebuilding them when he was a teenager.
Yeah.
Because he had TB and he couldn't work the farm.
As one
yeah.
does.
So he had a little jewelry store, and he just kind of lived out his life, small town jewelry store, and that was it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like what's your angle? Like, is it I'm assuming, because knowing you, it's not going to be any mechanical tinkering, mechanical work. Like, that's not your angle,
No,
right?
No.
So for you, it's got to be the dealer side of it. It's got to be the market side.
I'm a good salesman.
So you got to find yourself a good jeweler. You got to find yourself a mechanic.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, which I'm very, very early in this process. It's just now, like, I have things in my head all the time that I'm like, ugh, I want to do this. And then I forget about it in 2 weeks.
Right.
But this is like something that I've been kind of ruminating on for like over a year.
Yeah, we talked about making a watch marketplace.
That was like 3 or 4 years ago. What we knew?
2 to 3, yeah, around
Yeah.
Mexico time.
No, that was before that. I remember because I mocked up the logo when I still lived at Grassy.
Mm.
So that was at least.
Goddamn, that was a long time
That was
ago.
at least 4 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, fucking...
Yeah. So this has been on my mind, like
Yeah.
for a long time, and I think it's something that I'm capable of being. And my other project, which I haven't spoke about publicly yet, I'm trying to get the money out quickly and invest in hard assets.
Yeah.
And that'll make more sense in the future when I go public with what the project is. But I mean, all the people that are like, all these dealers always say like, don't try to look at watches as an investment. But dude, look at these fucking prices. You look at these fucking Patek Philippe's that were retailing for $60,000. They're fucking $150,000 now.
Yeah.
It's like, Jesus Christ. Like,
Yeah, dude, it's the way I can see, I get where you're coming from because I can do this in a heartbeat with cars. If I pick my favorite cars, if I pick my 5 favorite cars and I bought them 5 years ago, I could have made $1 million between the 5 years and now.
there you go. Exactly. And that's so, and even, you were saying like, just storing money, like you buy these solid gold luxury watches,
They're not going down.
that's all fucking precious metal, like
Yeah.
golds and diamonds, like it's not
But
going
assembled
down.
in an exclusive
Yeah.
manner, which is
You're-
worth even more.
You're gonna be able to sell this, so it's not a bad way to just hedge inflation.
No, like there's no downside.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is how I see collecting cars. Like
Yeah.
for me, I got a passion for cars. I'm gonna make my passion for cars pay for itself. Like
Just to do it as a
it's not
hobby.
it's not gonna like suck my business income or like my
Yeah.
dividends, whatever. It's not gonna suck out of my
That's-
like personal money. It's gonna be its own thing.
That's kind of how I'm thinking of it
It's
too.
gotta pay for itself.
Is that well? Because I watch these guys. They'll in the morning they get to the office, they go down to the safe,
Yeah.
and they just pick out $150,000 watch and just wear it all day.
Yeah.
And they can just based on their outfit, right? And they just
Yeah.
like, and then there's been like meetings where they're like talking to a guy and being like, he's like, oh, I'm looking for this watch, this watch. He's like, oh, do you like this? Like on his wrist. He's like, actually, yeah. He's like, oh yeah, it's for sale. Like, fuck, like whatever. Like, I know Nico has a personal collection, but Roman doesn't even have a personal collection of watches.
Yeah.
Like he has these fucking Richard Milles that are like $600,000. And he'll be wearing them, and then if someone's, oh, he's like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, I'll sell it. Like, I'll sell this 1 of 10. Like, it doesn't matter that I have my hands on it. Like, you know, we're in the business of selling watches, so that's what we're doing. I like collecting stuff.
Yeah. That'll be me with my fucking cars. I'll like walk out to the rack in the morning and be like, I'm driving that one today. But in that same manner of like, I see it as like I'm romantic about it to an extent, but not so much that I wouldn't sell it at the drop of a hat for the right price.
Yeah, I have a couple watches that are like they call it grail watches, where you're like, that's your holy grail. I have a couple that I want.
Of course, that you'll never sell.
That I'll never sell. The biggest being
That your estate can sell when you're dead.
yeah, no,
And you can take solace in the fact
they
that
can
you're
fucking bury me in it.
yeah, the fact that you're it's going to be a part of your estate and they can benefit from it, but
Yeah.
it'll be after you're dead and don't have to care about it.
Yeah, the biggest one I want is the white gold rainbow Rolex Daytona. It has different color sapphires all around the bezel that are slightly different colors, but all put together it looks like a rainbow. One just sold at auction for like $650,000.
Nice.
So that's like the most expensive Rolex on the market is the Rainbow Daytona. And I know Mark Wahlberg has a rose gold one, but I prefer the white gold personally. But anyway, and that's like, and then I want the it's not super expensive, but the Tony Soprano's watch is a basically what this is. I'm wearing a knockoff one right now, but it's a 18 karat gold Rolex day date with the presidential band and the champagne dial. It's about like 20 grand, I think, maybe a bit more.
So you can buy locally, no problem.
We have to find one because I don't
Yeah.
think they make them anymore.
Oh, okay.
But whatever. And then the one I just found out about, which I love, which I need, is it's kind of a meme though. It's the fucking watch that Tony Montana wore in Scarface.
Okay.
It's a Omega La Macaque or something. It's like square.
Yeah.
It like, I don't think it looks great, but it's just for the meme.
Yeah.
I gotta Scarface's watch, and I saw one on auction for like 20,000 Canadian.
Yeah.
Which is like not that bad. But
I kind of like square watches. I've got a square stainless Nixon surfing watch that's like,
Okay.
it looks solid gold. It looks really cool.
You know what I like?
I quite like it actually. I'm surprised.
You know what I like is the Cartiers, Cartier Santos, right? Which is like a rectangle almost.
Okay.
I like
Yeah.
that. I think I would like one of those as well. That looks cool. And I think I can't remember if it's the Santos. One of them was made for polo players, and you can actually fold in the head,
Yeah.
so it doesn't get damaged while you're playing polo,
Nice.
and then unfold it. It's interesting. That kind of shit gets me horny. Like
That's my favorite is the watches that are built for function. Like
Yeah,
the pilot's
100%,
watches, the
100%.
divers watches.
100%. Well, and these like they have what's the there's a bunch of Patek Philippe's that have like different time zones like in the back of the bezel. You can like set different time zones and has a calendar over the
Yeah.
far like shit like that. Like I think that's super cool.
Yeah, for my brother, when my brother-in-law finally gets a job at a commercial airline like he wants, I mean, he got in with a small commercial airline, which is cool, but like when he gets his big job, I really want to get him like a proper like pilot's watch. Like with all
Word.
like the nerdy features
Yeah,
that
yeah.
he can do like flight planning on and shit, like a smart, like a Garmin, like Garmin makes it.
Yeah.
It's super cool. It's like it's a couple G's, but it'll be
So-
like a family thing.
But even as I'm like talking about these watches, I'm like smiling
Yeah. No, it's awesome.
because I'm like literally passionate about it, which is like, it's hard. I don't have a ton of things that I'm passionate about. Like I got in the wine industry because I'm passionate about drinking,
Yeah.
but I'm not particularly passionate about winemaking.
Yeah.
And that's why my partner does most of that, or
Yeah.
all of that.
He can go on literally forever.
Yeah, but like I don't fucking know. I don't remember.
You're not a chemistry buff.
Yeah, it's not my thing, and I'm not really an engineering buff either, which I guess like watches are one of the best feats of human engineering. But I just think they're cool. They're neat.
You'd be closer to like a sommelier versus like a master winemaker.
A small what?
You-
Sommelier?
yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, closer. I couldn't be fucked, but
Yeah.
yeah, but definitely. But I think I want to jump off that note and move into our last segment of the show called tip of the week, where Tyler and I give you a business tip or life tip that we are currently going through. And I want to just kind of piggyback off my last statement there. And I think, like, if you're going to start a business, I think first and foremost is passion about what you're going to do. And that might be a cliche, but as someone who has, I'm involved in kind of 2 or 3 kind of money-making activities, let's call them. Some are businesses with locations and employees, some are side projects, but there's things that can make money quickly, and there's projects you can work on and businesses that you can start that can make money, but things fucking change, and in 5 years, if the market isn't the same, you're gonna lose. Like, it's hard to be interested in something when you're not making money from it.
Yeah.
If you're not passionate about it, right?
Yeah, when the money sucks, you're still going to chase it.
Exactly. And like Zach and I have made no fucking money from our winery, and I'm passionate enough that I want to chase that, even though I'm not, getting rich off of it.
Yet.
Well, yeah, maybe ever, but yeah, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think make gut decisions with, like, don't overthink it, right? Make your gut decision with your passion rather than like analytical. Is like, how is this going to make me the most money? It's like, you can make money in every single industry. There's always room for people.
Yeah.
But and you, just like you were asking me, like, what's your competitive advantage? Sometimes your competitive advantage is that you're more passionate and more knowledgeable than the next guy.
Yeah, you're just going to get after it more.
Yeah.
And then you'll find it along the way.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's my tip of the week.
For sure. My tip is pretty simple, straightforward, short and sweet today. If you need one person, hire 2. If you need one excellent client, go and get 2. Because you know what? They're going to fucking leave, and you're going to be left with 1. Always. I think
he's crying. You can't see it right now, but he is tearing up.
No, it's I'm
he got dumped 30 minutes ago. He's like, they're gonna leave. They're always gonna leave.
If you want a wife, get 2 girlfriends.
Mood.
If you want a kid, get her pregnant twice.
But pregnant?
Sure. No, I'm being facetious a little bit, but also completely serious because it's one of the lessons that I've learned, I guess, over my vast experience of 5 years. I'm saying that ironically, by the way.
Get it? Because 5 years actually isn't that long of a time.
Not really. Hiring especially is one of those things everyone thinks that they're really good at. Especially entrepreneurs, business owners. Like, I know people.
Man,
I can see their souls when I interview them.
Hiring sucks.
Right. No, it's like I have one conversation with them and I can see, like, right into their soul. And then, like, they, cross that line, try to make you their best friends and try to make you part of the family. And you're like, fuck, I just want to get paid, bro. And, like, I got a better job offer. Like, I know your family, but you know what? This other family is offering me more fucking money. And they also say they're family. So fuck you. Like, all this stuff is real. All this stuff is true, and you're kidding yourself if you think that it's not. If you think that you're special, and your paycheck is that much sweeter than the next guy's, it's true for a very small number of things, extremely small, and that person that believes that is also a very specific person. You just can't get away from it. Long story short.
That's
So
this week's shirt. It's Tyler's face. It says extremely small, and me says specific person. Buy it at
it's you in this current outfit.
alcoholbeyondthispoint.linktree.com.
But yeah, it doesn't matter how fucking great people are. I mean, wise guy once told me 90% of the time that people quit, it's for personal reasons.
Yeah. And
what are you going to do about it? Like, you just have to plan for it. If you just need to keep pushing and always expect it. So, I'm saying this because personal experience. Had 2 fantastically great hires. Went really well all season.
For now.
One of them's leaving in the summer. The other one has reiterated his long-term commitment. He's like, I want to stay for the long haul. So one guy's like all in. One guy's totally out. Both of them performed equally well over the period of time. And it is what it is. Like, there's no strained relations. Nothing went particularly wrong. He made a decision for personal reasons. And same thing for clientele. We constantly have our doors open. We're trying to shoot for these big fish. And, we got a couple in the door. Everyone makes promises. Everyone sits down with you in a meeting, says this is the next best thing. We're going to work together. All my business is going to be good for you, or vice versa. And you know what? Sometimes they just don't fucking come through. And that's for sales. Like, don't count your sales that aren't closed until that pen signs the paper. Don't count it. Like, it just kind of goes for everything.
Not even the pen signs the paper until the money's in your bank
Until
account.
the money's in the bank account. And it's like, and even if the money's in the bank
People
account, don't count on the money coming again.
Yeah, people do break contracts.
Yeah. Period. Yeah, there's like long story short, count on nothing and just hedge and get twice as much as you need.
Forever the optimist, Tyler.
I'm a radical realist / centrist. I'm an alt centrist.
You're an alt realist.
I'm an alt realist extreme centrist.
That's your new Instagram bio.
Alt realist extreme centrist.
Yeah.
Radical centrist.
Radical centrist, yeah.
Yeah.
Post-feminist radical centrist.
For sure.
And this is the post-radical alcohol podcast.
Hashtag Blue Lives Matter.
Hashtag Blue Loafs Matter.
That's actually what I meant, yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Follow us on
Thanks
Instagram.
for coming. Buy a paddock. Drink some Jaeger. And happy St. Patrick's Day. The guy that was nothing and didn't do anything and it means nothing. Just get drunk. Please. For the love of God, get drunk. That's it.
Alcohol Beyond This Point podcast.
This isn't 2 podcasters talking business. This is 2 business guys trying to podcast.